our webinar today will be from 1 to 2 p.m. Mountain Time. And so just letting everybody know that this webinar will be recorded and we will be posting it to our website as well. And so I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So Yat'eh, and welcome to the informational webinar to learn more about the 2023-2024 Indigenous Visionaries Women's Leadership Program. So I'm just going to introduce myself in my language. Yat'eh, she'eh, Cassandra Hardin, Yunishe, nak'ai, Dene nishle, Tachini, Bashichin, Toba'a, Dashiche, Totlagai, Dashanele, She'e, Farmington, New Mexico, De'e, Naashado, Ayaha. So my name is Cassandra Hardin. I am Dene, born and raised in a small town called Farmington, New Mexico. I currently live in Denver, Colorado, and work at the American Indian College Fund as the Senior Program Coordinator. My work focuses on the Indigenous Early Childhood Education and Indigenous Visionaries programs. My journey with the College Fund began back in 2010 when I first started as a student at Southwestern Indian Polytechnic Institute. At SIPI, I earned my associate's degree in early childhood education, and last year I just recently earned my bachelor's in early childhood education from the University of Northern Colorado. I have experience as a student intern and TCU research intern, and I originally began working for the College Fund back in 2016, first starting off as the assistant and coordinator, and then I recently returned a little over a year ago, now becoming the senior program coordinator. So that's just a little brief introduction about who I am and where I come from. In today's webinar, we are going to go over the following. Just a brief introduction of the programs team, just of the folks that I work with, a brief history of the programs, an overview of the current Indigenous Visionaries Women's Leadership Program, such as we'll go more in depth about the eligibility, funding, timeline, what are the virtual connections, blogs, convening, support check-in calls and reporting, application checklists and requirements, and we'll open up the platform towards the end for questions or comments. But do please add your comments and questions to the chat box so that way I can reference it later. All right, so we're going to jump into who I work with. So this is our current programs team. So we have Emily Whitehat, she's our Vice President for Programs. Bridget Skinador, the Program Officer for Native Arts and Culture. Alex Hamiyamtua, he's the Assistant to the Vice President and he provides full support for our team. Jerry Heimlerich, he's the Program Officer for the Computer Science Initiative. Hannah Gonzalez, she's our program administrator for TCU programs, and myself. So some of these individuals, you might have heard their name or you might have seen them visit your TCUs at some point, but this is our programs department. All right, next we are going to transition into a journey on where the Indigenous Visionaries program originally began by starting with the history. So the program began back in 2010 with the Embry American Indian Women's Leadership Project. During that time, the College Fund received a grant from the Embry Family Foundation to initiate a women's leadership program. This was a 4-year program that supported 6 TCUs and 20 fellows. This program provided individual and group training sessions and projects. This program was designed to develop participants' leadership skills to create the next generation of Native female leaders. In 2014, the College Fund developed a more place-based model to the Native Women's Leadership Program by designing the Place-Based Leadership Community Organizing Program. The vision was to train and develop the next generation of Native women's leaders, and with more of a localized approach and mentoring philosophy. From 2014 to 2016, the program supported 5 TCUs with 14 fellows. And next, we'll go over the Indigenous Visionaries Native Women's Leadership Program from 2017 to 2023. So the Indigenous Visionaries program continued to build upon the College Fund's previous work for a number of years, developing Native women's leaders through education, mentoring, and networking. Indigenous Visionaries focus on connecting students, also known as the fellows, at tribal colleges and universities with faculty members in their area of study. So this was more like a pairing. The students would be paired with the female Indigenous women faculty, and so that's how the previous programs ran. Within their academic disciplines, Indigenous Visionaries Fellows engaged in research and programming that builds on and expands their studies, mentored by tribal college faculty members with expertise in their field. Through this mentorship relationship, fellows participated in community projects, learning how to address tribal and local issues, understand what it takes to create change in a community, and experience possibilities for a potential career in their field of choice. So the program originally piloted from 2017 to 2021. It supported 4 TCUs and 15 fellows. Whoops. Did I jump ahead? Slide 9. Okay. So the Indigenous Visionaries Women's Leadership Program, it just continued to build on the previous work that we've done. In the past 2 years, we supported 4 TCUs and 4 student fellows. And with those fellows, they were paired with 4 mentors. And so through these projects, they were able to focus on community-based projects. And so it kind of aligned with what they were studying at the TCUs. And so in 2023 and 2022 to 2023, 5 TCUs were awarded with 4 student fellows and 5 mentors. There's 5 mentors during that time because one of the TCUs, we also engaged a senior mentor to oversee that mentor and fellow during that time. And this photo here is our orientation that we did last year, and that is our group of fellows that we work with and mentors. And so here it's just a visual of our webpage. We do have both of the programs on our webpage, and there's a link to access both. Embedded into each of the web pages are blogs that are written directly from the fellows and the mentors. And so they just share more about what they did, their experience, a little bit more about their projects as well. So when I send out my follow-up email, you'll have access to these links. So next, we're going to go ahead and go into the current program, which was just sent out a few weeks ago by myself and Emily Whitehat. So you might have either received an email by your president, myself, or Emily. But we're just going to go a little bit more in depth about the Indigenous Visionaries Women's Leadership Program and just about the slight changes for this program as well. So the Indigenous Visionaries Program at the College Fund supports the empowerment and success of Native women faculty and staff at TCUs through a 10-month fellowship opportunity. Participating fellows receive a place-based and experiential professional and personal development through guided trainings and cultural learning from the College Fund staff and a broad range network of Native women's leaders. Currently, the program has shifted to focus on supporting fellows only. So through this program, we will not require the fellow to be paired with a mentor. So the fellows, we opened it up this year to all Indigenous women that I'll go talk into a little bit more in depth on a few slides. So eligibility, so this year we are going to award up to 10 full-time Native women who are employed at tribal colleges and universities. And so to be eligible for this program, your TCU just has to be under AHEC. and must live within the community served by their tribal college and university, be a Native American United States citizen that is a member or descendant of a state or federally recognized tribe, must be a full-time Native women employee at an eligible TCU, so such as your title may be a director, grant manager, faculty, instructor, archivist, librarians, language learners, specialist coordinators, coaches, assistants, advisors, aides. So we kind of just opened the platform just to really reach out to a lot of Native women at TCUs. You do have to be employed at a TCU and have the support of your leadership to participate into this program as well. And we're just asking that everyone that they maintain a commitment to actively participate in all of the fellowship activities, meaning all of the virtual connections, the check-in calls, a potential convening next year, and to be prepared to submit in a small report just for our evaluation purposes. So I'll go a little bit more in depth about those items later. So funding. So each selected fellow will be awarded a total stipend of $4,000 each for the fiscal year of 2023-2024. So we are asking that the TCUs will disperse these payments either in the fall of 2023 and the spring of 2024. So the fellow will receive $2,000 in the fall, $2,000 in the spring. So one thing I just wanted to point out is if the fellow is actively participating in the College Fund program, and then the disbursement should be made in December and May. But if the fellow is not actively participating in the program, the College Fund will reach out to your TCU and your TCU president by November 30th and April 30th to send you guys a notification about that. And so we just also take into consideration that this award does not account for taxes, and fellows should plan accordingly for tax payments. Just consider allocating a quarter from each award for tax purposes. So the timeline, this is also embedded into the application as well. So all applications are due to me July 21st, 2023. If you do have your application done ahead of time, feel free to submit that in early. But I'll be sending out final reminders and kind of just checking up with everyone in the coming months via email, just to see if anybody needs additional support. The program, it will run from September 1st to June 14th of next year. It is a 10-month program. Fellows are required to attend an interview. So interviews will be with myself and a few of my team members, and also with our vice president as well. So those will be hosted for 2 weeks from August 14th through the 25th. They'll be hosted via Zoom. And then on August 25th, we will send an email, electronic notification to selected grantees. And so you'll be receiving an official letter and a formal email to notify you that you have been selected for the program. And then from August 28th through the 31st, all selected fellows will be required to attend a meeting with myself and College Fund program with another College Fund program team members to just basically go over the terms and conditions agreement. If you're awarded, you'll receive that agreement after you're awarded. So continuing on to our timeline, September 1st, once you get that terms and conditions agreement, and we do have that call and we reviewed it, it needs to be signed by the fellow, your TCU president, and it will also be signed by Cheryl Crazybull, our president here at the College Fund. And I'll make sure that we have a copy and you have a copy for yourself. So the terms and conditions agreement, it kind of just goes more in depth about just requirements, just so that way we can just work together on making sure that all of our requirements are being met on both ends. And so September 5th, all the grant awards will be processed. Depending on your TCU, the grant awards will be processed through EFT, which is an electronic funds transfer, or if your TCU has not signed up for that through the college fund, then you'll be receiving a check. I usually send out notifications via email, and I'll include the award letter and the signed terms conditions agreement just to confirm that it was processed. So the virtual connections are a requirement for this program. And so we went ahead and already scheduled out all of the virtual connections for the next year. And so I would review your calendars and just go ahead and set those in if you are applying for the program as well. All of these will not be rescheduled. If they are going to be rescheduled, we will let everybody know in advance, but most likely all of these dates and times are set in stone. They are in Mountain Time, so you would just need to adjust if you're in Central Time, Eastern Time, or in Pacific Time. And so there's 8 monthly virtual connections. 7 of those we will invite Indigenous women to present. They're usually experts in the field. And so in the previous 2 years, we held topics around language, self-care, storytelling, wellness, community advocacy. But I think for this next year, we're going to be expanding on a little bit more topics. If you're selected from the program, I will work with you to send out the scheduled Zoom invites for all of them. And it's also best practice to notify the College Fund and, of course, myself if you're going to be missing any of the virtual connections. Again, these are a requirement for the program. And then here I just thought I'd share some photos of our previous year with our fellows and our mentors. And so we were able to work with Chelsea Lugger. She was able to come to the group and talk about wellness with her mom. Donna Brown, she is the president from Turtle Mountain Community College. And then we also invited Tamara Pondensky. She is a Canadian Ojibwe Jewish actress. She was featured in that well-known show Res Dogs. I believe she played one of the aunties. So she was able to come in to share more in depth about her experience growing up and to share to our group. And then the other photo on the bottom right, so that was our fellows. That was our last time that we met last month, I think it was already. So the fellows were able to present out on their community-based projects, and they were also able to write about their projects on blogs, and we were able to work with them on finalizing them and getting them published to the College Fund's website. All right, so we are going to move on to the blog workshop. So part of the program, fellows are going to be required to attend the interview and blog workshop. So that is embedded in one of the virtual connections schedule. It's going to be on November 1st of this year. And so we're just going to go more in depth on just helping you on how to maybe, host an interview with the Indigenous woman leader from your community, and then how to develop a blog during that time as well. And so I will also be working on a blog calendar in advance. And so this is where I'm going to assign each of you to a month. And so I usually send 1 month advance notice to everybody and just to keep everybody on track. And we do work with our public education department for finalizing and for approval for any edits. So that is a requirement for this program. All right, so next we're going to talk about the convening. So the date for this is to be determined. So it will most likely happen next year, either in the spring or summertime, but we'll usually send out an advance notice. We'll include a travel packet form. And so embedded in that is just, usually you'll include like your emergency contact information. You'll list out what flights you would like. So during this time, all travel and associated associated costs for the convening will be fully covered by the college fund. You would not have to pay anything out of pocket. All travel arrangements will be booked by us at the college fund, and we'll send you guys a travel itinerary and agenda, but that will be forthcoming. All right, and so next we have support check-in calls and reporting. And so a different part of this program is we're requiring check-in calls with each of the fellows. And so that will be hosted either by Zoom or phone calls. And so I'll reach out to you after you're awarded to set these up in advance. So I usually just like to set it up in one email, and you just select the options for each of the months, such as one for October, November, January, and March. And then I'll just go ahead and get those schedules. Although if you do prefer just a phone call, that is fine. I'll work with you on just setting up a phone call directly with me. A final narrative report and financial report will be due to the college fund on June 28th of next year. So we will send out those templates in advance. So most likely you will get those either in the spring or a month before June 28th. And so it's usually just a brief, very basic final narrative report and just a financial report statement just to show us that you expended the funds on time. All right, and then this is just the last checklist and required documents for the application materials. So the final application needs to be fully completed. Don't leave any sections blank. The TCU authorization page that's on the last page of the application, that does need to be signed by your TCU president and the fellow, and this should be submitted in as a PDF to protect the signatures. Embedded in the application is a brief bio. So you'll share more about yourself, your experience, and yeah, just to help us learn more about who you are. A headshot photograph is required from the fellow. This does not need to be professional. Just a really good headshot of yourself will work out great. And then a signed photo release form will be required as well. And I did see in the application there was a mistake on page 5 that we're requiring references. That is incorrect. For this application, we do not require any references, and so just ignore that part on page 5. Then all are due to me on Friday, July 21st. Again, if you have everything completed early, feel free to submit that anytime between now and then. I am also open to scheduling a brief Zoom call, such as you're filling out the application and you're stuck, or you just need additional support. Feel free to send me an email or just call me on my office line, and I would be happy to coordinate a time just for us to walk through the application materials together. And I just wanted to reiterate that this webinar is being recorded and it will be posted live to our main Indigenous Visionaries webpage. And I will email it out when I send out the reminders, just in case if you want to review this webinar again, or if you have or if you know of anyone else that might be interested in this program, you can go ahead and forward the application, the photo release form, and the recorded webinar to them. And also, if you think of anyone who might be eligible for this program, feel free to forward the application materials, the email, and my contact information to them. We would love to have them apply for this program. All right. So let's go to the last slide. All right, I am going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. That way everyone can see me. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, go ahead and raise your hand, or you can go ahead and drop your comments or questions into the chat box, and I'll do my best to answer them. All right, so I do see some items into the chat box. I see, does our mentor have to be on a different reservation in TCU? Do we pay our mentor from our stipend? So I For this new program, we do not require a mentor. It's only fellows. So the fellows are going to be the directors and the, let's see if I can find it. Oops, sorry, having some difficulty with my PowerPoint. So yeah, so this program, we do not require a mentor. It's only for the fellows. And for the fellows, they used to be known as the students in previous programs. But for this program, the fellows we are referring to now are they can be directors, grant managers, faculty, instructors, archivists, librarians, language learners, specialists, coordinators, coaches, assistants, advisors, and age. And so, yeah, so those will be those individuals. And then another question is, I don't have the information regarding fellowship, but was it about interviewing an elder in our community? So it's going to be about interviewing an Indigenous woman that you might find aspiring. It could be another Indigenous woman faculty. It could be an Indigenous woman elder. It could be Indigenous woman community member who's just really supporting other individuals in the community as well. And so I think we're going to be opening up to options during that time. And it goes a little bit more in detail in the application. So Mary asked, what is the community-based project? So in previous programs, we did require a community-based project. And so that was when the fellow was paired with a mentor and they were able to identify a project such as they can learn more about native plants and garden, or they can learn about how to focus more on recycling, but for this new program for 2023-2024, we do not require a community-based project. The only requirements that we are asking for is to attend the Indigenous Visionaries virtual connections, the check-in calls. You'll be asked to write a blog, and that will be published on the website as well, and also interviewing a Indigenous woman leader. Yeah, so I see a few hands raised, so I'm going to ask Jessica to go ahead and talk. You should be unmuted.
Oh, hello. So just a question. The signature that's required by I'm drawing a blank. The TCU president's signature. So I currently work for United Tribes Technical College. Would that just be the president of our college?
Yes, it would be. Yep, there's a section for his or her signature and a date, and then for your or the fellow's signature and date.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'm gonna ask, let's see, Jenny, I see your hand up, so I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you. So Jenny, go ahead and ask your question.
Do we have to identify the person that we're going to be interviewing prior to, or like at the time of we're doing the application process, just to ensure that they're available to do what we need to do?
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yes, that is a really great question. No, you don't have to know who you want to interview now. We'll usually give everybody a chance to do that either in November, but if you do know somebody, I would definitely give them a heads up and ask them like, hey, I'm interested in this new program. A part of the requirement is I got to interview. I might interview in November, in the fall, or in the spring of next year for my blog. And so that's a really great question, Jenny. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then Jessica, I see your hand up as well. Did you have another question?
Oh, sorry. No, I just forgot to put the hand down.
Okay, no worries. All right, and then I see a few questions in the chat box. So Danielle, is this a grant or a stipend? How would we complete the final financial report? So this is a stipend, and for clarity that this is not a scholarship, it is a stipend that will go directly to the fellow. And so the financial report, so usually we create a brief template. It's just going to be an Excel spreadsheet. It's either going to say $4,000 at the top, and we just want to make sure that you were paid out in the fall and the spring. And so at the bottom of the Excel spreadsheet, it should say zeroed out. And so that one is going to be emailed out either in the spring or a month before June of next year. And then Tiffany asked, how long is a block? It depends on you. Depends on how long you want to write it. When I send out the recording, I will include examples of previous Indigenous Visionaries blogs as well. They could be anywhere from 3 paragraphs to like 10 paragraphs or 5 paragraphs. It just depends on what you want to share in your blogs as well. Again, we do work with our public education department for editing. They are suggested edits, and so if you feel like when you get your revised blog back to you and you didn't like any of the edits, you can just simply let me know, and I'll let the public education department know as well that, oh, we're going to keep the original written blog, and that is okay. A part of blogs that we can do is also embed photos, if you would like. If you have individuals, such as if you're interviewing an Indigenous woman elder in your community, you would have to have her or her have a signed photo release form when you're submitting that photo. And since we would already have one from you, we would not need one from you. But when you go to the website, we do have a lot of examples of our blogs on there as well. I've seen some blogs that are kind of like storytelling, where it's just like a bunch of photos and it just has like descriptions for each of the photos, kind of like a timeline, and you can just follow that as well. Other blogs, they could include like a very brief video as well, and so that we're open to as well. And so I think as far as blog goes, you can get really creative on how you want to share your experience and your story. All right, so I see another question. Where is the convening, and is that required to attend, or can it be on Zoom? So the convening, from what I was told, it's going to be hosted next year. We haven't decided on a location yet, but from previous experiences, we have hosted convenings here in Denver, Colorado sometimes directly at the American Indian College Fund office, or sometimes it'll be at a hotel here in Denver, Colorado. So usually we do not go live for our Zooms or for our convenings. And so I don't think it would be hosted, or an option would be offered on Zoom. And so when we have further information and once we have more planning happening for that, we will definitely let everybody know in advance, like the location. And yeah, we would work with you if you're unable to attend. We would just try to work with you on next steps or what we can do. But usually we don't record them on Zoom or host them live on Zoom. All right. I'm going to leave it open for a few more seconds for any more comments or questions, but I'm really thankful that all of you were able to join me today. This is a really incredible program, and it really helped individuals just to kind of build upon their professional skills and to learn from each other. And it definitely creates a very unique community for Indigenous women, just to have that place and time, just to come together. In the past year that I worked with this program, I heard like a lot of really great comments from student fellows and the mentors themselves, saying that this program really helped them just develop who they are as individuals, and to help give them the confidence that they need to become more independent and stronger within their field of choice, and to continue on their educational journey as well. And it's just a really great opportunity just to meet and to listen to a lot of like Indigenous female leaders who are actively in the field. And so, yeah, for the virtual connections, we send out an agenda in advance, so you'll know who's speaking, and if they have websites to like their bios or the work that they're doing, we'll send those along with the email as well. And yeah, so I usually like to stay on top of things. And yeah, all right, I see one more question. So the senior leadership information on the applications is the TCU president info. That is a great question. So I have the application opened up now. So let me look at that. So yes, that would be the TCU president, the interim president. I've also seen the vice president listed there as well. That's perfectly fine. So anybody in the senior leadership level is perfectly fine. All right. Any more questions or comments? Deanna, I see your hand still raised up. Is that another question?
No, I probably forgot to lower it. Sorry.
Oh, okay, it's okay. All right. Well, in the meantime, if any of you have any questions, or if you just want to talk to me real quickly on the phone, my information, I will drop it into the chat box now. And it's also in the email as well. And so I would be the direct contact for this program. And if I need any additional support, I usually just reach out to Emily Whitehat, our vice president. Again, if you know of anybody who might be interested into this program or might be interested in this professional development opportunity, just feel free to send the application on over to them. And yeah, so that's my webinar. All right, well, I'll just stay on for a few more minutes. But everyone, I hope you have a great day, and I hope you have a great week, and I hope you become part of our program. And so it's just, it's fun. That's all I can say. It's fun. We learn together, we thrive together, we grow together, and it's just a really great and safe space for Indigenous women. All right, thank you, everyone.
Miigwech.
Yeah. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Jenny. Have a great day. Thank you, Tiffany. Oh, Tiffany, I see you have your hand up for me. Hi, Tiffany. Did you have a question or a comment for me?
Yeah, so I think you kind of said it a few times, but I'm just making sure.
Okay.
So basically we just have to attend these 8 Zooms and then do a blog on a woman in the community,
Mhm.
an Indigenous woman in the community, and then attend the convening, and then that's it.
Most of it. So there's 4 check-in calls that we will do. So it's just a brief 30-minute check-in call, either through Zoom or just over the phone. Just checking in how you're doing. Usually we just do a brief update. It could be, we could use that time to talk about your blog, or we can use that time to talk about other things on where you're at, or maybe you have suggestions for the program as well. You can also use that time to talk about those. And then another part of it, yes, you do have to write a blog and also interview an Indigenous woman leader in your community as well. And then also the tail end of the program is you have to do a final report narrative. It's very similar to how the application would be laid out. And so kind of just touching base on successes and challenges that you learned over the program, or maybe some part of the program just really enhanced you as part of your role at the TCU. And then the financial report template just to show us that the funds were zeroed out and the stipends were paid out to you on time. But yes, so, and then the virtual connections. So yes, you will have to attend all 8 of them. I think usually we'll be okay if you miss 1 or 2, but you would just have to email me, usually 2 weeks in advance, just to let me know that you're not going to be there. But yeah, we always encourage our fellows to fully participate into the program and just really just soak it all in.
Yeah, that's cool. And then so each one of the Zooms, it's just kind of like just kind of something that helps to build us up as Indigenous women, like support or self-care and stuff. Is that what you were saying?
Yes, yeah. And so usually we have invited guest speakers to present during our virtual connections, and they are 2 hours long. We do allow time in the beginning for someone to offer a reflection. Usually that's like a prayer, positive words, or it might be one of my team members that just offer like 5 minutes of reflection, and then the rest of the time is just the presenter to come and present about their works. One of them, we did like an art demonstration. We brought in Holly Young. She was able to teach the group about art ledger, and through that virtual connections, we were able to send the fellows and mentors art packages, and so that way you can like actively do it with her when she's doing it. And so yeah, each of them are just very different. We didn't assign a topic for each of the month, only because we think that they might change. But yeah, they're just really like a great space, and we do allow time for break times in between. And I always like to include self-care moments such as breathing exercise or like mindfulness exercise through them, because sometimes some of the topics, they could get semi-heavy, but not too heavy. And then some of the topics, you just had a long day and you're jumping onto a 2-hour Zoom call. And so we like to take into consideration everybody's like health and well-being as well. But yeah, it's a really good time. I mean, and the previous virtual connections, we got really close. And so it was really hard to like say goodbye to everybody back in April.
Yeah, I bet. That sounds cool. I actually know Holly. That's my good friend. So that, I mean,
Oh, wow. It's a
that would be
small
cool.
world.
Yeah, I know we do art stuff. We always snap each other, asking each other's advices on our art stuff. So that's cool.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that'll be interesting. I feel like I might apply for it then.
Oh, yeah, I definitely encourage you to apply. And if you get stuck on any part of the application, whether it's small or big, just feel free to reach out. It's always best just to ask questions for clarity, and I would be more than happy to walk you through it.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, Tiffany. Well, I hope you have a great day.
Yep, you too.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.